Okay, so getting ready to put this thing in tomorrow. I've got everything that I need. I need to finish putting the spark plugs in and stuff like that, but I want to go over a couple of things before I do that. As you can see right here, I have a oil pressure gauge set up. It's tied to where the oil pressure sending unit is supposed to go. I was mentioning in one of my earlier videos that I like to prime the oil system before I do any cranking or turning or anything like that. And so what I normally use is what I did was I took an old distributor years ago and I cut the top part of the distributor off, and then I kept the shaft that goes down into the oil pump where the gear rides. The gear rides right there's got a pin that holds the gear in place, but that fits into the oil pump on that end. And this way I can just set this in the distributor hole like so, and attach my drill up here and make sure that I've got good oil pressure. Okay, I like to do that. It's just something that I like to go by, even though the everything has been plastic gauged and everything should be good to go. You don't know until you know, so it's always a good idea to set up an oil pressure, a manual. What do they call this? This is a oh my God, it's an oil pressure gauge, but it's not an electric one. I forget the term that's used. Anyway, it's the one that's got the line, and I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, oil pressure unit or gauge that actually reads the actual oil pressure. Okay. Another thing that you want to do whenever you're building an engine and you're going fixing to drop the distributor, I'm going to put the distributor in it. And I got new spark plug wires and new spark plugs, and I got all new sensors. I got the, of course, the new oil pressure sending unit, which I broke taken out. I got a new temperature sensor, and I also got a new NOx sensor. Okay, so I've just replaced all the sensors. I replaced everything on this engine is brand new, so including the cap and rotor. So, but one other thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you got your timing marks matched up here. Back up a little bit. There we go. As you can see right here, I've marked the timing mark right there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blow air into the #1 cylinder and make sure that both the valves are closed, so that I'll know for sure that it's at TDC, because that's how you check for top dead center. Because whenever I drop that distributor in there, the distributor's going to be pointing on #1, and if this is 180 out, because I know it's on top dead center, right? But that doesn't mean that it's on the compression stroke or the exhaust stroke, you know. So if it's on the exhaust stroke, then the valve is going to be opened and it's going to be letting fuel out, and it's going to mean that when I put the distributor in there, I'm 180 out, which means I'm going to pull the distributor back out of there and reset it, and I don't want to do all that. So now that I know that the crank is in the TDC position, I still don't know whether the valves are opened or closed. Okay. And again, the only way I can do that now, because I don't have the valve cover off. If I had the valve cover off, so I could just look at it and say, okay, it's TDC. But because I don't, I can just inject air into this cylinder and make sure that, which if I do that, it's probably going to roll the motor over. But anyway, I don't have any. You know what? I've got a regular. I can apply a little bit of air at a time. So, okay. So I don't have a leak down test. I could do a leak down test and find out. I don't have a leak down gauge. I could do a leak down test and see if it was in TDC or not. So that's important to do that. Find out if what position your spark timing is before you put this thing in, because I don't have to pull this thing back out. I want to put this thing in, start it up, and go down the road. That's what I'm shooting for. I don't know if it's going to happen, but all right, guys. So that's all we got right now. I'm going to go ahead and attach the oil pump shaft and hook my drill up on it and make sure that I've got good oil pressure. So, all right, peace out. Okay, guys. So I got my drill hooked up here. I had to makeshift my oil cooler back on here. I got it strapped on to this stupid cinder block and stuff, but I had to do that because I was hand turning that shaft and I started cranking out a little bit of oil from that connection right there where the oil cooler goes into the oil filter housing. So So let's go ahead and see what kind of oil pressure we got on this thing. It should be from 50 to 60 pounds. If I got above 50 pounds, then I'm good to go. Here we go. Okay. All right. Come on now. Don't be stupid on me. Great, that's good oil pressure right there. 60 pounds for this engine is right where it's supposed to be. So, yeah, looking good. This is what I was talking about whenever I prime the engine with oil. This will actually prime the lifters. It'll prime everything, man. This thing's getting good oil pressure. And, yeah, it's looking good. I don't have any oil squirting out anywhere, so. Yeah, it's great, man. That's good oil pressure, man. I'm liking that. So, okay, so we're good to go here. I'm going to go ahead and put the spark plugs in it, find out which, if I'm on TDC or if I'm on the exhaust stroke or where I'm at on the, for my spark timing. And put the sensors in it. And I think I'm going to leave this primer in there. And I'm going to prime it one more time before I crank it up. So I'm going to do everything, hook everything up. And make sure it's in TDC, make sure it's on top dead center, and then I'm going to prime it one more time with my drill here, and then I'll be ready to start this thing up. So this is the way I do it, guys. I mean, you can do it however you want to. You can actually hand turn it to get your oil up on there, but it's going to, you're not going to get the full oil shot when you do that. You're not going to get the money shot. So excuse me, I shouldn't have said that, but I did. I'm sorry. Lord forgive me. Okay. So I was being stupid. All right, so that's where we're at, guys. Let's just finish putting this thing back together, and then tomorrow we'll drop this thing in, get it stabbed, and then I'm going to call it a day. I'm not working all day on this thing tomorrow, so I'm going to, my buddy's going to come over, and we're going to drop this thing in. We're going to get bolts started in the bell housing and the motor mounts bolted up, and we're going to call it a day. And then next week, hopefully I can take Sunday off. Then next week I'll go ahead and finish hooking everything up, and we'll start this thing up, and we'll go from there. Also, I got the way I do these engines is I'll do a startup procedure on this thing, and I'll run it for 25 minutes at 1500 to 2000 RPM. About 1800 RPM is where I'll run this thing for 25 minutes, and then I'll shut it off and I'll drop the oil. Okay, I'll drain the oil, and then I'll put new oil in it, and then I'll drive it for 500 miles. So to for the wear-in process. Now the way that I wear an engine is I put it on the freeway, and I drive it for 50 miles an hour for 30 minutes, and then I'll move it up to 80 miles an hour, and I'll drive it at 80 miles an hour for 30 minutes, and I'll do that for 500 miles. So I'm going to take this thing as soon as I get it all where I'm comfortable with it, and it's not going to break down on me. Where I'm, then I'm going to drive this thing to Dallas and back, which is over 500 miles. This is 600, nearly 700 miles, and I'll run a tank of gas through this thing, and then I'll drop the oil again. Okay, after 500 miles, I'll drop the oil again, do my final oil change, and then I'm good to go after that. I may even at that point run some TX7 in this thing. Well, actually, I'll probably wait till my 3,500 mile oil change. I'll do another oil change at 3,500 miles, and I'll probably add a quart of TX7 from Polydyne, I think it's called. It's really good stuff. We used to use it in all the Toyota cars that we built or had engine problems with that we did a rebuild on. We'd break it in and then add a quart of that stuff, and it's really good stuff. It actually treats the metal and reduces the wear and friction of the engine because the metal's been treated with that TX7. It's about $20 a quart, but it's good stuff, and I've had really good results with it. So that's what we're looking at here. That's what I'm going to do, and we're there, man. We've got good oil pressure. That is 60 pounds is perfect. So I know my bearing clearances are where they're supposed to be, and lifters are getting oil like they should be. There's we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the plugs and all the sensors and all that crap on this thing, and then make another video later. All right, guys, peace, and I'm out.